Hey everybody, how's it going? So welcome to the penultimate episode of Wilderview Mews here in Planet Coaster. So hot off the heels of creating a ridiculously huge and unusable building, we need to add some final touches in the park ahead of the finale by adding, well, more unusable stuff in the form of service areas, car parks, and some final touches. Let's do it. Oh yes, you heard that right. This is the episode for our fellow park operation nerds, because we are delving into the depths of all things backstage in this episode. Now, it might not be the most exciting episode of the series, but it genuinely is one of the most important parts of the park, because without any of this stuff, A, your park won't feel real, and B, if it were real, it wouldn't operate. So no, this stuff might not be needed in Planet Coaster, but based on the silly little things that you guys call me out on, if it wasn't here, you would definitely call me out on that. So this is the park from the top as it sits right now, and you'll spot some changes. I've made a mess. You'll notice, if you haven't already, we've got a lake missing. It's gone. I'll talk about that in a moment. But this is the park from the top, and I like how this is turning out, even if I'm destroying car parks and stuff. But anyway, you'll notice that I've started to plan out the maintenance areas. And guys, we are dealing with limited piece count. I want to save the piece count for the finale coaster. So you will spot that I am spamming a lot of the same buildings. It is real. Parks would buy blueprints of buildings and place them around, and you'll find the same buildings around. So there is precedent set. I'm just trying to make it as random as possible. And what I've done is I've split all of the maintenance areas into 3 zones. So we have one zone. Look at the lag on this. Guys, you don't build a park of this level of detail and expect 100 frames per second. You really don't. Sorry. So you've got 3 zones. You've got one zone down here. This is going to contain lots of warehouses and storage areas and maintenance areas and stuff. And that would service pretty much the lower third of the park. So what I've made sure is that you've got access to all of this area by way of road or by way of some kind of level pathing or whatever. So this would service all the way down this way. You have another one at the top here, slightly smaller. It's like a hub, if you like, and that would service all of this area along here, right? So we're sort of talking the hyper, and we're talking the Intamin launch, we're talking the invert, and all of that sort of stuff that we've got going on here. And then we've got one final one that's over here, and this would then service the final third of the park. So this is going to be dealing with the dive coaster, the 2 Mac coasters, the B&M Flawless, and the Dueling Infinities that are coming for the finale. So that's kind of like the vibe that we're going for here. What I've then started to do along this way is just start to sort out all of the terrain ready for the car park to come in here. It's going to be a split level car park. I'm going to have one that's higher up here and a road that's going to come down here. I did originally have this all flat, and I thought actually that defeats the object of trying to do this whole taming the wilderness if I'm just flattening the terrain. It just doesn't work that way, and we've done such a good job of using the terrain elsewhere in the park. It felt like the car park, yes, the actual car park itself needs to be flat, but the bit between it doesn't have to. Alton Towers says hi on that one. And then over here, what we've got are the staff areas. You will have seen me use this building before. I am very much of the mind of, if I have a blueprint that I could use again and it fits the style of the park, you bet I'm going to use it again, because I love how this building was all kitted out and detailed. It was based on the old building that I used to work in. I need to put a ceiling in here, by the way. This is why this looks a bit rubbish. I do need to do some touching up. But this is based on an old building that I used to work in. The layout is pretty similar, so that's why it feels familiar to me, right? And anyway, but we didn't have this many staff. But you've just got rooms and rooms of computers here. And then inside here, you've got a bit of a breakout area. And then you've got, so there you go, some meeting rooms and some training rooms and stuff that would be in here. So this is where staff would come to train at the beginning of the season and all of that sort of stuff, right? And then walking through this way, I don't think I did those toilets. I don't think they are Chacho toilets. This would be like a call center style vibe that we've got going on in here. And then over this way, we have a canteen cafe area that we've got. There we go. And just all the stuff that you'd kit along the side there. So like I say, I need to put the ceiling in here because it needs office lights and stuff, so watch this space. I'll get that done. And then we're going to have the staff car park that's going to be in here. So I've just started to kit this out. I'm not going to keep the path here, by the way. I've put the path down so that I can use it as like a steady state for the terrain. So I can do all the hills around it, then I'll remove this and I'll terrain paint it instead. So this is the first area here. We're just going for some simple warehouses. I'm not going to kit out inside the warehouses. I'm just going to do clutter and stuff on the outside and then tidy up the area, right? As I said, I need to conserve piece count. This would then connect to the main park along here. So I just need to do all of the exterior perimeter fencing that I've been avoiding doing this entire time. I should have just done it as I went along. And then we're going to come up this way and it's going to connect back from the park here into the backstage areas up here. This is then going to be another like service area, if you like, with just some more warehouses and that sort of stuff. It's going to come back round this way. Then we're going to connect down here because we don't have a connection point. So we've got this area here to connect. And then we come around this way into the bigger main hub. And then this actually splits off into a multitude of directions. So you will have access down this way because we've already planned that access. You'll have access down this way. This way then services the hyper. This one services the rapids that we've got down here. And then this one provides the access to the rest of the park and that lower third as we were talking. So it does all kind of make sense. I do need to put some kind of a gatehouse in here so that you can enter from the car park and stuff, and then yeah, so I just need to sort all of that out. But as you can see, there is some kind of logic behind all of the maintenance areas. They're hub based and they service areas of the park, and they're all connected by an external perimeter road. So that's where we're going. I need to go and kit these out and I'll show you what that's like when it's done. See you in a mo. Oh, you guys, how do you even make car parks like even remotely interesting? What am I going to spend the next couple of minutes talking about other than this bloody great big hole that's just developed in here? I wonder what might be coming there. Have I told you yet? But no, seriously, let's talk car parks because we need to do it. The first thing you'll notice is that this car park down here is probably feeling quite familiar to Alton Towers, right? It's very much placed there so that it's out of the way of everything. There probably would be some kind of transport that's taking guests from the car park to the main entrance. I don't know. It had to be far away from everything else. I'll talk about the positioning and the level and stuff in a moment. But first, let's have a look at the entrance here. This is the first place that I really developed, and we've put in an overflow car park down here, right? So if you run out of spaces along here, you could start to fill up these, and then you could probably start using the hotel. If you run out of space from there, I don't really know what to do because you've got nowhere to put your cars. It'd probably be something off camera, right? But anyway, I've also started to put in the disabled spaces around here. So you will need disabled spaces for your guests, and they will need to be close to the entrance down here, right? So that's kind of what I've done here. There are enough disabled spaces for the park capacity. There's a formula that I've used before to determine the number of spaces and the size and everything that you need. That's in the car park tutorial if you want to go and see that. I've used that golden formula to work out how many spaces I need for disabled, how many coach spaces I need, and how many car park spaces I need, and the space it needs to take up. So this is completely accurate. This is completely correct to the capacity of the park. So I've also put in the coach spaces along here as well, and you use diagonal spaces like this because you actually need less space between the two curbs. Because the coaches come in and then they can come in at a 45-degree angle and then they can come out at a 45-degree angle and then just carry on driving. Unlike the vertical spaces or the horizontal, depending on your perspective, that you've got here and here. So this is actually a bit of a waste of space. This is not the most efficient use of space, but I kind of wanted it to feel like it was different. This had to be an overflow car park. In fact, if anything, as an overflow car park, this probably wouldn't even have lines. They would just throw cars into the space and just be done with it. And they'd probably be lined up this way rather than the way that I've got it here. So they'd be lined up towards the hotel, facing the hotel. But hey, it's fine. I'm all right with this because I just wanted to make it look like it was kitted out and decorated. So I've also put down some line markings and just some stuff along here. I don't know if you can see. No, you can't because of the zoom. There you go. So I've also just put some stuff on the road just to denote that the car park and whatever, coaches and cars and stuff. Then I've also done some of the landscaping down here. I don't know how much I'm going to do. I am very much using the excuse me, the $2.20 principle here of does it look good from the top, because this isn't going to be the bit that you're going to explore the most, right? I mean, I'm grateful that you guys are even here watching me do this. So does it look good from the top? Yes, it looks good from the top. Does it look complete from the top? Yes, it does. Is it complete if you compare it to the rest of the park and the detail I've put elsewhere? Probably not. You'll probably be able to pick holes, but hey, it's fine. So I've done some of the foliage and stuff down here, and then I've also joined up the pathways. So we've got one main pathway here because this is going to be where your disabled guests and your coaches all come in, so you'll have a lot of people, and then you've just got a couple of through fares here. I didn't want this to be a big plaza. I wanted this to be broken up, and in fact, if you remember back to episode 1, this was down a hill. And my sole intention was to do a DollyWood and have the car parks on multiple terrain levels and all of that sort of stuff. But you know what, guys? The game doesn't like it. So I've just leveled it off. Unfortunately, that joke from the first episode has come back to haunt me. Because yes, Chacho did just level entire hills. But that's also why this is also level as well. For the exact same reason. Doing it, as you can see here, on different terrain plane levels, it just doesn't work. So I'm just not going to do it. So coming up to this end here, this area is intentionally left blank or left empty, and that's because you need space for emergencies. So if there was ever an emergency in the park, there would need to be some kind of central hub, and you have this area here that would be left blank. So you could come in and put helicopters in, or you could put transport units, you know, like the transport communications units and all of that sort of stuff. They would come in here. Legoland Windsor has this, so this is where I'm taking it from. Then the staff car park, nothing really needed to be done up here. I've just rocked it off, and I've also just put in some floodlighting and stuff along the outside. And then coming up to this area, the maintenance area has now got some clutter. So I dig how this is. Like, I don't hate it. I'm not mad at it. It works. And so yeah. There we go. So we've just got lots of clutter and stuff that's going around here. I'm not doing the inside of the warehouses, as you already know. I'm just representing the stuff that you would find on the outside. And these places are messy areas, right? They're away from guests. They're dangerous. They're plant machinery and all sorts of stuff going on in here. Then the road up this way, I've then just put in some extra little bits of clutter by the fence and the gate that I've put in here. And that's just so we can just have easy access to things like bins and whatever. They might have just dumped them there just for the sake of it. You'll also notice that I've done the fencing, the perimeter fencing around the outside, so that's all now done. I've chosen a solid fence rather than a mesh fence, so we've just gone for that. And then I've got another perimeter fence here as well, so that's all in place. This bit round here, I just need to do touching up. So the next update is going to be all the park touch-ups and stuff. So I've got some work that I need to do or want to do around this area. But coming up this way to this one, more clutter and stuff added, lots of trees and whatever, just to hide the area a little bit from guests. But yeah, this is kind of what you're getting at. So all of the mess and the shipping containers that, if this was Merlin, would probably use as shops. Shots fired. And then lots of other clutter going on in here with lots of the other warehouses. And then coming down this way, that was really bad. I could have chosen a far more interesting path then, couldn't I? Hey, the camera work is consistent to the very end, at least. So the perimeter fence is all done down this way. I have also just put a midpoint clutter point. This just felt like this would have been an area where they either couldn't be bothered to transport everything, or they just didn't transport everything, and it's now just sat there and has been sat there for multiple years. So it's all a little bit overgrown, and it's all a little bit unkempt and whatever. So it's just there, and it's fine. And then this bit is the main hub of the entrance area. So this is where you're going to find your refuse points, your recycle centres. This is where your bin lorries and stuff would come in and pick all of these up. But then, yeah, you would have also lots of other clutter that's going on. So just got some bits outside here. You would need to keep this clear because this is a main road that goes through. So you need to keep that bit clear, right? So, yeah. And there we go. This is, oh man, this park is proper like struggling, and I run a behemoth of a PC, and this park is struggling. But my next protocol is to do all of the touch-up areas and all of this stuff around here that I've been like not doing for quite some time. So let's go ahead and do it. All right then, you guys. I wasn't planning on getting the done for now stamp out in this episode. It was going to be the full done stamp, but unfortunately the game is kind of struggling. It's become a bit of a festival of forgotten clicks. I've had to rein back what I'm doing. I need to save some juice for the finale coaster that's coming next week. So I hope you understand that this is probably going to get a little bit choppy, but it's worth it. I promise. You don't build parks of this scale and expect 100 frames per second, right? I blame the hotel. It's all the hotel's fault. It's totally my fault. Shouldn't have put the hotel in. So anyway, in the previous update, I forgot to mention that these car parking spaces, they are actually 2 cars wide. So before you go, oh, you haven't got enough parking spaces. Yes, I do. They're 2 cars. It's Alton Towers. That's where it's come from. And there's enough space in between to make these to make this work. And of course, they would come down this way to exit, right? It's chaos. Alton Towers car park is chaos, and it's fine. It's organised chaos. They've got lines to drive in. It's all good. See what I mean about the game? It's really struggling. To give you some context, by the way, an autosave takes 27 minutes. I've got my autosave set to every 40 minutes. It takes me an hour and a half to do 40 minutes worth of stuff. It's quite bad, but worth it, right? Totally worth it, because this is the park that we've got. So stop it. Stop being negative. Stop being negative, Nelly. It's all good. So lots of touching up work that's been done. I'm going to show you around the main bits that I've done. So here in the car park is the first bit. Just some repositioning of stuff. It's a lot of this stuff is real minor tweaks that you probably wouldn't notice if I hadn't pointed it out. But I've tidied up this area. It needed a little bit of work. It just needed a few trees rotating and a few lampposts that were in the slightly wrong place, that sort of stuff. But I really dig how this has turned out. Like, I'm not mad that we had this originally set down and now it's all one level. Like, I'm all right with this now. I've made peace with it because it looks good. I've taken the active decision to not put the fences down here, by the way. I wanted it to feel like it was open. You could come down here in the summer if you wanted to. But the fences either side stop you from walking over the grass. That's the purpose, right? So that's what we're going for. That's what we're going for here. This area then, by the side of the lake, only took us 6 months to do. We did it. I did have visions of, I'm just going to real quickly pause it so I can do some quick camera movements. There we go. So I did have visions along here of all of this quay coming all the way down this way. Let me just change the camera. There we go. And unpause. So coming down this way, but actually I decided that it needed to be open. We've got all of the key effect over this side, right, on the other side of the lake down here. So I kind of thought this probably needs to be open. All we need to do is just put some low-lying fencing to stop people from going into the water, and then you are good to go. By the way, you don't need don't die fencing to stop yourself from getting into the ride, because the worst risk is the water between you and the ride. So you're in more danger if you're in the water than you are if you're heading towards the ride. So just put the don't die. Just put the low-lying fencing in, stop people from going into the water, and you're all good. So the boat ride is in. This has changed from where I had originally thought it was going to be and how it was going to behave. So originally the station was going to be here, but it turns out you can't put the exit path in without destroying the lake. So I have changed the position. The old seating area that was here is no longer here. Well, it is here, but it's changed ever so slightly. It's now a bit of a jetty. I wanted this to feel like it might have been in the park since it was here, so that's why I've left all of the stuff exposed. You can't take off this bit, unfortunately. It's the base of the station, but had I been able to, I would have taken this off completely and made it like completely temporary. But hey, it works. It does what it needs to do. And yeah, I've decided to make it a full circuit. I did have original visions of it being a transport ride that took you from here up to here, and then maybe from here round the lake to here. But of course, we've developed the park since, and it's completely changed. So no. And then I've also just touched up this area. I'm just going to pause it again because otherwise it's just unbearable, right? With the camera movement. There we go. So I've just done all of this work on here. This is now working quite nicely. It's what it is. It doesn't need to be completely detailed. Like, there are areas in the likes of Alton Towers or Cedar Park that are just dead areas, and I think this needed to be a dead area, so that's what we're going for. But then as we continue along this way, I've tidied up all of this area, and again, it's only taken 4 months, but this path is now complete. Let me just real quickly pause it again. So this area is now sorted. I didn't want to do too much to this area, actually. I wanted this to feel like it was a bit cramped, a bit of an unloved area. I did have visions of there being a whirly rig. Do you remember back to the COVID episode? That was a thing. I was going to put a whirly rig in here. In fact, I was going to put more than one in. But no, I decided not to. It didn't need it. The area needed to breathe. The area needed to just exist. So all I've done is I've just finished off the pathway, lined it all off with the dirt and stuff to give it a nice little edge. Put some flowers and foliage in, tidied up the area, and we are good to go. A couple of game stalls. I had visions of putting lots of game stalls in, but I just don't have the juice left in the game to be able to do it until I know what the coaster's going to do. So I've just put 2 in here because it felt like this whole like plaza area did need a little bit of breaking up. So that's what I've done. Right, we're going to move again to the hill because this is another area that a lot of work has happened. So this is a weird one to explain because, again, these are a lot of touching up of areas that you wouldn't know I've done unless I told you that it was done. So do you remember back in the episode when I was like, oh, there's trees in the way and it's all blocking the view and stuff? Lots of minor little tweaks to where trees are and heights of trees and where flowers are. And the run-up for the cable cars here, some of the foliage was just not quite right. So I've now just done a lot of touching up here. I've also put all of the railings in for the for the stairs. They've been missing for quite some time. But this is the result of the tree tweaking. You now get this kind of a view across the lake. Ah, oh, look at it. Yes. I'm just too chuffed. I like a proper chuff with this area now. Mind you, I was chuffed with this area anyway. I think it's probably my favourite area of the park. But yeah, now it's done. It's all like finished. And then up in the Vekoma area, yes, Vekoma. I was never really sold on this area, right? I didn't know if it was because it didn't feel finished or if it didn't sit right. But I've done some tweaking with things like flowers and trees and stuff, and I'm happier with it, but I don't know if I'm happier with it because I've tweaked or if I'm happier with it because it's now better, so I don't know. But anyway, some work has been done. That's what you need to know. And then over here, this is all like fine tweaks of flower beds and stuff. These felt too symmetrical, so I needed to randomize them ever so slightly, and then this bit as well just felt too tidy, so I've just roughed it up ever so slightly. So yeah, that's all looking good. And then down this way, again, it's all just like rough, slight tweaks to buildings and stuff. You'll see all of that in the tour that we go on. Then of course we've got this bit down here. I haven't touched any of this. Oh, secret. I mean, I've started to do a lot of the terrain work and whatever down here, right? So you've got a couple of clues to what's coming, but not enough to be able to work out what's coming. It's great. Obviously, I've told you what the coaster is, but you don't know what it is, so it's great. I'm intentionally leaving all of this bit to do because I need to put the coaster in and stuff, but I think this path is largely, as it is. It's the $2.20 principle. Does it look all right from up here? Yeah, it looks all right from up here. It's not going to be an area that you're going to go and inspect. I don't know if I'm going to finish this. This is just, it's the pre-tour problem. And then over to the hotel. This is the last bit to show you where the main changes have happened. Again, the rest of the tweaks you'll see on the tour. We've now got a path. Yes. So we've now got a full circle. Well, do we have a full circle? Can you count? Yeah, you can count it as a full circle around the lake. So I've put in let me just pause it again. There we go. So I've put in all of this pathway along here, put all of the flowers and stuff. It's now consistent. You've got all the lighting and stuff that's going along. I wanted this to feel like it's been here for a while, and it now makes the troika make sense because in the lore and the canon of the park, we've always said that the path would probably have carried on around here, and this troika really didn't have a place, but they would have put the troika in because they ran out of space, and that's where it would have gone. And then it just so happened they also wanted to put the hyper in like 20, 30 years later, and they needed to get rid of the pathway here. So what we're saying is this pathway would have been here before the hyper was in, but they removed the pathway to put the hyper in. So that's why this is like it is. But actually, in theory, you probably could have kept the path there. It could have stayed. But they didn't. They chose not to. So that's fine. I like those little things. Like, that part just makes it It's just such questionable choices. Anyway, this is the park from the top, guys. There's just one episode left. I can't believe it. It's mad. I'm hoping that I've made this episode as interesting as I can, because this is a proper nerdy episode. It's the backstage and the maintenance and stuff. And how do you make that exciting? You just don't. You just laugh through it and pretend that everything's okay. So thank you for getting to the end of the episode. I really do appreciate it. Guys, next week is the finale. It's a big one. So until we speak again, please look after yourselves. Take care. Bye-bye.